Well, apparently I didn't record an intro to part 2, but here is part 2 of the last one to exist, known to exist, H.C. Evans pushover machine, and I'm filming this while part 1 is exporting. Don't mind the fan noise. Why am I editing on a laptop? I don't know. Okay, let's remove the base off this thing. And to do that, we're going to be using a hammer and a screwdriver. Basically, I can't really get a hammer underneath most of these nails. Some of them I probably can, like, well, maybe that one. Probably not. I think I have better luck just pushing that one out from the other side. Yeah. Boom. Already started. But I don't expect to get all of them out that way, so we're just going to use this and very carefully probably pry on the boards that are going to have to be replaced anyway, so we don't damage anything important, because I can't pry on this, obviously, because I don't want to damage it, or this. So we got to be very careful what we pry on, but otherwise, how else are we going to get it off? So let's do that. Normally you'd use a crowbar, but I don't rob places, so I don't own one of those. So let's get to disassembling this thing and rip the side off and hope it doesn't fully collapse when we remove it, because it might. It's probably structural. Okay, so this thing is actually detached. All I ended up doing was removing some of the large nails that were around this bottom here, and the 2 nails that were coming in from this trim into the side of this. I removed those, went to the back, and gave it a yank, and she's off. Now, I need to detach all the wires because there's still quite a few wires and stuff that's attached to this side panel that we need to remove, so let's do that and get this panel the whole way off, and then we'll pull out all the nails that are sticking out of it because I'd rather not get tetanus because they're really rusty, like really, really rusty. Okay, so everything is disconnected from this board. Well, all the stuff that I can disconnect right now. So, I'm gonna remove it. Oh, fuck. This thing's actually surprisingly uncomfortable to carry like that. And would you look at that? We now have the open cut side of a Evans pushover. Not a lot of people have probably ever seen this before. Okay, let's glue these pieces back in here because, well, I'd like to save this front board. Okay, let's pull these clamps off. Let's see if this thing will stay together without breaking. It should. I mean, I drowned the thing in wood glue, so I can't imagine it doesn't, but the question would be if it kept its shape right. God damn, how many freaking clamps did I put on this thing? Yeah, let's pull this big one off. How do I pull this big one off? One-handed without it falling. Okay. And it's off. And it's good. Hell yeah. Now, we'll obviously have to do some sanding and some wood filling to makes this somewhat usable. Definitely going to have to put something in here. I don't really want to fill that 100% with wood putty. That would be kind of insane. We'll probably just take a thin piece of wood here, and put that in, glue it in, just as a spacer, and then we can just wood putty the cracks with that. So, that's looking sick, though. Much better. I think that'll hold. Now, let's see about cutting out a new one of these. To do that, we're going to have to trace it a lot. Actually, before I trace this thing out, let's take out all these nails before I give myself tetanus. Because these are really rusty. Luckily, they're pretty easy to take out, but I don't really want to go get a tetanus shot. So let's take them all out. Okay, here we go. This is looking beautiful. I got it lined up here in the corner, so we only have to cut out around here to save as much plywood as possible. Now, before I trace this out, I'm going to clamp it down so it doesn't move while I'm trying to trace it, because then we'll end up with some wavy-ass lines. So let's clamp this thing down and get to tracing. This is going to look sick. Also, I made sure that this is the side that I want inward. It has a lot more knots than the other side. The other side is way smoother, so it's going to look better when it's painted. So that's why I did make sure that I'm using the right side of the plywood for what I want to do. So let's get to tracing. Okay, I fully traced it out, so let's remove the clamps and see what we're left with. Hopefully something we can work with. I'm debating about what type of saw to use to cut this out. I'm not sure. I'm thinking jigsaw. The straights I would cut with the table saw or just a circular saw, but I don't know if it's going to be worth switching between the two just for the little bits that are actually straight. I don't know. We're going to find out, I guess. I still don't know what I'm going to use. But let's unclamp this and take a look at our tracing. Okay, here we can see our beautiful trace work, so let's get to cutting this out. I got to figure out what saw to use. I'm thinking... shit, I don't know. I think I'm going to table saw like the super long straight bits. Not table saw, circular saw them just so they're straight. And then jigsaw everything else. But that'll depend if I even have a circular saw blade. I should. And if I even have a jigsaw blade. I probably should have checked all of that before now. But Let's go find out. Okay, so I found a jigsaw. I didn't find a circular saw, so let's do this. I got a supposedly wood blade on it, says for clean wood, so let's hope it cuts clean wood. We're gonna sand this shit anyway, so I mean, who cares if it's that straight, right? As long as we don't cut in the line, we're good. Anyway, that's what wood putty's for. Let's just try it up here, then work our way down, because, well, there's a table leg there that I want to cut off, so let's just start here in the middle, and hope it works. Let's really hope it works, because this is a really expensive piece of plywood. It was like 40 or 50 bucks. Yeah, I'm never gonna cut straight with this thing. Let's go get a circular saw. Okay, circular saw has been acquired. Let's get to cutting. Okay, so I got a few cuts done. I got this one here, and I got the inner step and then the outer all the way up to right where it curves. These ones here, it would be nice to cut with a circular saw, but I'm gonna waste a lot of plywood to do it because I gotta cut a bunch of extra to do it with the circular saw. So we're just gonna cut off the curves with this here real quick, and then I'll decide what I wanna do about those straights. Okay, it's cut out, but luckily I used the circular saw for the parts I did. The parts I didn't definitely are gonna need some work. Yeah, that doesn't look good at all. Luckily, I made sure I cut above the line on the stuff I didn't use the circular saw for. So I'm just gonna sand these down. I have it clamped together with every other side lined up, so I just need to sand this side and this side, and we'll be looking golden. So that is looking awesome. Well, this side isn't, but this side is. Okay, it is now dark out. I have finished sanding this thing. I've sanded all the edges, so you can touch the edge of this thing and you're not getting a cut, anything. You're not getting a splinter. This thing is beautifully smooth. So we are golden, which is perfect. That is exactly what we want. So the outline's done. Tomorrow, when it's not dark out, we're gonna cut out the coin door. Well, the coin door outline and cut all the grooves in it. I think I'm gonna have to use a router for that, but we'll see. But it's coming along beautifully. That is looking sick. Okay, it stopped raining long enough that hopefully we can get some of this cut out without getting rained on and outputting sawdust on every machine in there. So let's start cutting grooves. And it's done. I ended up just freehanding it because, well, couldn't get the clamp to clamp in half the spots. And the only spot that really ended up messing me up was right here. I curved up a little bit, but that's not gonna matter. It's on the inside. You're not gonna see that ever. So it is looking sick. I also, obviously, cut out the coin door and grooved it for the actual coin door. So we're good. All the routing should be done. Now we're gonna have to square some stuff up with a chisel, like these here. Couldn't get them square with a router, so we're gonna square those up using a chisel, and then this door should be ready to be glued on once we do the other panels that need replaced. Okay, now to see how it fits. And to do that, we need to take a chisel and we need to clear off some of this old board that's still stuck on here like this, and just square up everything on here. So I'm gonna start taking this shitty little chisel and start chiseling every goddamn thing. Technically, we slightly messed up. I routed this thing down to here, and then I routed it the whole way out because this was solid, or so I thought. It actually just had what was left of the old side still stuck in there. So, it doesn't matter because it's going to be hidden by trim anyway, but yeah, that is something I shouldn't have done. But, oh well. And it is on, and it does fit. It fits perfectly. Lines up beautifully. Everything slots into place. The only thing we screwed up, well, I screwed up, is right here. This curve should have been slightly less of a curve and should stop even with this. So we'll be able to fix that in post, but, you know, that kind of sucks. But we'll be able to fix that. We don't have to completely redo the door for that. But this is looking sick. Everything is perfectly lined up. This trim is just pulled out. It lines up. This turned out perfect. I will take it. That is sick. All right, now that this side is done, we need to cut out a new back, new bottom, and a new top. So let's get some measurements and start cutting. Alright, it's been fully marked out, so just got to cut it out, and then we're going to have to cut the groove in it as this has a groove. So we'll route that out, but first, let's cut it out. Okay, it's been cut out. Unfortunately, it did chip out right there because of the weird curvedness of the bit, but that doesn't matter because we're going to be routing out right there halfway through, so it doesn't matter. You're never going to see that because it's not going to be there. So let's mark off how much we need to route in, and then grab the router and route this thing out. Okay, the depth has been set on the router, so I just need to route out this channel here, and this bottom part of the back door will be done. Then we'll just have to build the bottom and the top. And we're done. I can barely see my screen because it's covered in sawdust, but it's routed out and ready to go. Now we need to finish the bottom door. And to do that, the bottom. And to do that, we need to pull it off first, so let's go do that. Oh yeah, that fits perfectly. Beautiful. Now we just need to replace that and the top. Let's rip this board off. Yeah, that's about what I expected. Yep. That's what we expected. There we go. Let's pound those nails out before I die on them. Alright, I went ahead and pulled off this front trim board because I figured I'll have to pull out some of these nails eventually. I might as well just do it now. Get them all out of the way. So, all of that's off. Now, let's go take this and take some measurements and try and cut a replacement. Yeah, this thing's really, really bad. Okay, so apparently it's the exact same length as the other board, obviously. So we're just going to cut this fully off here, and then we'll cut it off over there. So let's do that. Let's just continue this line straight up. Okay, one bottom door, cut out and routed out. Let's see if it fits. And with that, the bottom is done. It lines up perfectly with the new back and the side, and of course, all of the original wood. That is looking perfect. Now let's do the last board, which is the top. Well, it's not the last board, but the last board that we're fully replacing. Alright, here's something kind of cool. As you can see on this board, you can actually somewhat read pushover, which means they had the marquee on here and then they painted the marquee on this. Kind of cool. Also, they misdrilled it and drilled that hole twice. Alright, now let's knock this thing off. Here we're going to need a heavier hammer. Top is off, which means it is time to do some more measurements and some more cutting. And we'll have to make sure we cut the angle here in the back as well. Great. Oh, and the hole for the like. But looking at this, I think this is the color that the inside should be. That looks to be the right color, because that would have been covered by the light, so yeah, it's not faded or anything, it's not discolored. It gives a nice blue sky look. That's what I think that is. So, that's good to know. Alright, so I'm going to start out by cutting the angle, and looking at the, well, just putting the saw against the original one, it looks like it's a 45-degree angle. So, luckily, these saws can do a fancy angle, so we don't need to even take it into a table saw. We can do it with the hand saw. So, let's do that. Okay, one 45-degree angle cut. Now we can take our measurement from here over and measure this one and mark it, cut it, and then the top will be done. Well, besides drilling the hole. Okay, a new top has been cut. Now we just need to drill a few holes. We need to drill the 2 holes for the light to mount in and the actual lock mount. And then I'm going to have to find something to stamp the 4710 number into this. Not sure what I'm going to use for that yet because I don't have any number stamps near that big, but we'll worry about that later. Let's work on getting these holes marked and drilled. So let's do that and continue. So the way I'm going to mark these holes is actually pretty simple. I have the board even up with itself, and then I'm just going to, and that should mark the board underneath. Now I just need to pull it out and put it on this side and do the same thing. As for this hole, I just was able to mark it with a pencil, but these ones were too small for the pencil. Okay, these are the 3 drill bits we need. This one here will drill the 2 holes for the bolts that mount the light. Our 3/4 inch will drill the actual lock hole, and our 1 inch will countersink in the lock hole. So let's get started by drilling out the 2 light mounting screws, as they're going to be the easiest because it's just a straight shot with this tiny bit. One hole done. Now to move on to the next. Perfect. That's not good. Why the hell is that so lined up? Is that right? That can't be right. Hold up. Oh, apparently it is right. I guess the light just isn't centered due to the different things on the sides. Due to the transformers and stuff on the side. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, thought I was going nuts there. But no, it's not centered. Okay, we now have the hole countersunk, and now we can use our 3/4 inch and drill it out. Now you're going to have to try and get it centered, but it's a lot easier to get this centered in that tiny hole there than trying to get the the inch centered in the 3/4 inch hole. So always start out with the larger and then go to the smaller when you're drilling these locks out. Otherwise, you will have a mess trying to get it centered, and it won't be. Actually, another option for centering it is if you've already punched a small hole through the other side, you can just use that as your centering hole. That is what we're going to do here, so let's do that. But also, once you drill through a little bit here, you kind of want to drill from both sides, otherwise you're going to break out on one side most likely. So it helps if you just drill in a little bit from each side, so you get minimal breakout, as that is a pain to clean up then once you do get breakout. And just like that, we have the lock hole drilled out and our 2 light mount holes. So let's see if this thing fits on the cabinet, and then we can start assembling the cabinet. That fits perfectly. I am genuinely surprised I didn't have to remake any of these panels. Now obviously there's a few panels we still will have to make. We still need to make a coin door for this side, a coin door for here, and we also need to make the 2 back doors, but all of that's going to wait, mainly because whenever all this is crimped together, the diameter and widths of all this might change, so we want to make sure everything's already together before we do that. And I don't want to cut out these, because these I can cut out of scrap pieces, and I don't want to cut out these out of a large piece and then realize, oh, I needed a bit of that large piece, I needed an extra inch for these. So these are going to wait until all the large pieces are done, then I'm going to cut those out, so that's what's going on with those. But let's start assembling this thing, and to do that we're just going to use panel nails. As you can see, originally it looks like it was just held together with panel nails, so I'm going to go grab some panel nails, and we're going to start nailing this thing together so we can stand it back up and have a beautiful looking pushover machine. Okay, we're going to start by putting this board onto this board. And to do that, we're going to use, well, panel nails and some wood glue. We're going to glue it and nail it so it hopefully will never come apart. So, let's do that. Alright, wood glue setting over there. We got nails set in here, and we got a hammer set in here. Okay, so these 2 are now 1. So now let's make them 1 to this board. Okay, it has been nailed to this board. This board has been nailed to this board. So what I'm going to do now is actually, hello, focus, start nailing it up this way, and we're going to finish nailing this entire side on. It's coming along perfectly. Okay, we have put nails in everywhere, all along here, here, all the way down, on the side, all the way across. So it is time to stand this thing up. Then we can put the nails in the other side, down through the top, and all that fun stuff. But let's just make sure this thing is going to stand up when we stand it up. So, without further ado, let's stand this machine up. And we're back to standing. So it's time to put in the nails across here, and then the nails across here, and this thing will be ready to, well, move on to the next stage of whatever I'm doing to it. Okay, everything has been nailed together on this side. The problem I'm having is down here. As you can see, this is a lot worse than I thought it was under this trim. And the trim itself is actually a lot worse than I thought it was. The other side was in much better condition, I'm guessing, because that trim wasn't on it for years. So this is bad. I'm going to have to cut off at least 1.5 inches off the bottom of this, and then just splice in a new board, a new half part of a board, and blend it in. I think I can do that without too much difficulty, so that's what we're going to do instead of replacing the whole board, because I wouldn't like to replace the whole thing. It's not in too bad a shape. The rest of it is just this bottom. So that's what we're going to do with this, but to get started, we need to wood harden this really badly. I'm probably going to wood harden most, if not all, of this cabinet, but let's just start right here. Put some wood hardener on it, because that is definitely soft, and that is not something we want. So let's start throwing on some wood hardener.
And this is where I'm going to leave today's episode. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do. More updates are going to be coming on this thing real soon, so please follow along as we restore this last known to exist HC Evans pushover from 1951.